My apologies if you hear a little bit of extra reverb in today's video because I've moved and I'm at a new office and I have not set up all of the sound dampening yet, so my apologies, but hopefully that'll be fixed soon. Anyways, welcome back everybody to Ante, Bellum, which has a new update that is not out yet, but I do have early access to it. It's the 1.10 Sword of Islam update. So we have a bunch of changes to Arabia and North Africa, which means naturally we're not going to play in either of those. Instead, I've been recommended to play Sicily over here in Italy, which I believe did have content from the start, as we can see from the 1.0 little banner here, but has been updated in 1.10 with, I believe, a brand new mission tree and a lot of interesting stuff to get into. Before we get started, we can see on the map we have quite a few changes to North Africa, even a little bit to Iberia for Andalusia, and to Arabia, of course. This is important to one of the main core aspects of Antebellum as an alt history mod, which is what if the Reconquista failed? That's why we still have Andalusia over here in the west. A couple of changes to the religious map mode, including the fact that Sicily is a Shia country, and also a really big change to the Holy Roman Empire. There's a lot of lore in here. If that's your kind of thing, I'll give you a quick scroll through of the whole thing. Looking at our first few missions here, it seems our first objective is to conquer Rome. First, we're going to need a larger army and a general. Since we have no army professionalism, we can just go ahead and hire the free company. We have another mission that's going to require 10 galleys and a fleet equal or larger than 25. Fortunately, we do have 8 galleys, so it shouldn't be too hard to build 2 more. And that is important because, as it turns out, we have the ability to raid. Our Sicilian ideas give us 2 max promoted cultures, and we're allowed to raid coasts. We also have a unique tier 1 reform, the Sultanate of Sicily, giving us the Ikta abilities as well as tolerance of heathens and religious unity. Speaking of which, we'll get some core creation costs. As for the starting rivals, of course, we're going to take the Papal States, and primarily we want to focus on countries that we can actually invade, so not really any part of Italy right now. But Byzantium and Bulgaria seem like fine ideas. For our estates, since we plan to expand in the early game, we might as well go ahead and assign all of our point privileges. We're going to grab increased levies, as well as supremacy over the crown, and at least temporarily expand the fortifications. As for the ulema, I don't think I actually want to convert things yet. I'm going to go with development of temples, of course. I'll get a scholar without needing the diplomatic relations. I think I would like the aggressive expansion impact reduction. As for the dhimmi, we're probably going to ask for higher taxes. I don't want to give them autonomy because I do want to convert things, just not that much. At least not yet. So instead you can have liberties and tolerance of heathens. As for alliances, we can start with Serbia, I guess. We can also get more national unrest decrease. We don't really care about that yet. And we can rename the country to Sicilia. Okay, sure, why not? In our first few days, we can start off by raiding a couple of provinces. We have our mercenaries, so let's hire a general. That's pretty good. For our reward, we gain another general with an additional shock. Also a few permaclaims, and because I rivaled the Papal States, we also get 10% morale of armies for the next 10 years. The mission is mostly just beating our chests about taking Rome. Since we have enough money to get a naval doctrine, we'll go ahead and grab this one. Available loot should also, in theory, increase the amount of money we get from raiding. That is going to be our main source of income for the next several years. In fact, because we make so much money, we should invest in a military advisor. We do have a few extra choices because it's Antebellum, like we could get additional cavalry combat ability, but I think we'll just go with morale. Now, it's the 12th of December. We do need to start this war before they try to ally up with anybody who will actually help them. Yeah, that was kind of expected, to be honest. I'm gonna try to see if I can bait the AI into taking a bad battle here. Since I did scorch this territory, and I'm going to reinforce slowly over time, we should have no problem. Yeah, no problem was right. Now, we have finished this mission here, but the problem is that we can't really use it right now since we just finished, raiding everything. So I think we're just gonna sit on that for the next 10 years. There isn't anything we really need to get done in that time. And Rome has finally fallen. The subjects are now declaring their independence. Interesting. Well, that does actually put a little bit of an issue in my plan here, because I do want to annex the Papal States. Now I don't get to have their subjects in that peace deal. So I'm still gonna annex Rome, which should give us Urbino as a vassal. I'm just gonna have to figure out which of these countries I'm going to turn into a subject, because I do still kind of need to do that. But at the very least, I need to have 2 subject nations, which doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be one of the former Roman ones. We've also also finished another mission though, since I have allied the Magyars as well. I could get another 25 Diplo power by allying another country though, so temporarily I'm going to do that. Then we can get our 100 Diplo power. Excellent minister this early into the game. Well, I would like to pick up the next military tech as soon as possible. We've just finished another mission by getting a sizable spy network on Tunis. They have the same ruling dynasty that we do in Sicilia, the Hafsids, and supposedly they will inevitably ruin themselves in time, according to us who seek to subjugate them. Perfectly good reason, of course. We gained a subjugation CB on Tunis for 25 years and a permaclaim on the Tunisia area. Also, I'm trying out the narration for different mods and other mission trees as well. I usually only do that for Anbanar because it's like super lore heavy. Let me know what you guys think about that. Anyway, oh, you've gone ahead and allied with the Nizarids, of course. Well, that's annoying, but it's not insurmountable. Just a pain in my side. The Siege of Kef is won, and we're gonna collapse on these guys in the highlands to take them out. As far as I can tell, the Nizarids are still a little bit occupied in the south, although not for long. I'm using the ships as scouts, so as soon as they cross into here, we'll know. Unless they go by the oases. If they do that, then oh well. Okay, I figure they're probably making their way over now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hire a larger army. Another mercenary company right there. We do have one advantage, and that is that we're going to be one of the first to grab the next technology. So we will have additional tactics and morale. I managed to bait them to use only a part of their army in this battle. We also don't really have a navy anymore, so I think what we can do is, well, first of all, I should get rid of you. Let's do that. Lovely time to lose a stability. Scandaria has fallen, and so shall this army. From the Nizarids, I'm going to need some war reps and a whole lot of money in exchange for them being in this war. Next, I'll be demanding vassalization from Tunis, as well as a little bit of money. Gonna be hard to get everyone on board with this one though. That is 80 aggressive expansion. But I do have a couple of allies. It's nothing we can't handle. Now that we have 2 subjects, we should also grab strong duchies. And because we have vassalized Tunis, we have finished another mission. We are the clear victors of this dynastic dispute, and we're looking to the Maghram for our next expansion target. We lose 3 war exhaustion, we get +1 Diplo rep, and minus 25% liberty desire from subjects development for 20 years. We also gain some permaclaims, and while Tunis is our subject, they will lose minus 20% liberty desire and be converted to Shia. We can also pay off their debt and turn them into a useful vassal in North Africa. We've seemingly also finished this mission because Tunis didn't lose any provinces before we conquered them. As the mission states, not much to be said for Tripolitania. Although Jerba is a nice place, an island with a fort is always helpful. We gain 3 mercantilism, and for 25 years we get minus 10% center of trade upgrade cost, as well as an additional Diplo development whenever we do upgrade a center of trade. On top of that, we gain a couple more permaclaims. In fact, we can go ahead and upgrade the center of trade in Rome for an additional Diplo dev. We'll also give that its own marketplace. And we can't forget to reduce that autonomy. Now let's see some crown land. It would be really nice to grab extra legalism and a stability, so I'll just boost that up by 1 and we'll grab that. Byzantium is being torn apart and I don't want to miss out on this, so I'm gonna grab a sliver of Epirus if I can. Could wait for the Renaissance, but I kind of want this for innovativeness, even if it's a little bit more expensive. Also, now would be the perfect opportunity to finish off this mission. The mission mostly talks about how raiding is kind of important for the economy. And yeah, it kind of is. On top of getting free money, we also weaken the other countries by just a little bit. Anyway, our reward includes getting additional raiding range, plus additional loot and sailors each time we raid for the next 15 years. Well, there goes that coalition, that's nice to see. Bulgaria has no allies and barely an army, plus we don't have that much aggressive expansion with the Orthodox countries, so we can probably go in there and grab a few things. For the tier 2 reform, I actually want the nobility to keep their 60% influence, so we don't need this here, although the tax would be nice. But I will grab this one. Oh, I just realized, for us to actually invite the scholar, we still need to have negative 50 piety. Like, it's not enough to erase the diplomatic requirements, we still need to have less than negative 50 piety. I don't think I spoke at all during that war. All you really need to know is that it was pretty easy. They are a tech behind and had like no manpower and no army. As for the peace deal, I thought this would look nice because it'll give me the opportunity to also give a few cores back to a new Byzantine subject subject. Now, we've actually managed to finish a couple of missions. First of all, this one was done a while ago, but I wanted to hold off because it does give us diplomatic annexation costs, and I just wasn't ready to use that yet. The mission is pretty much like, we're not going to loot the city, we're going to hold a military parade, and we're going to show the Christians that we're going to stay here pretty much permanently. In the meantime, though, we are going to apparently loot the papal treasury. Let's see what we get from that. Rome has fallen, so on and so forth. We gain 20 prestige, 20 legitimacy, 100 legalism, and minus 5% all power costs for the next 25 years. That's pretty good. Plus, we gain the Spread Islam CB on all non-Muslim countries with a capital in Italy. We've also finished the Illyrian advance by grabbing a few provinces over here in the Balkans. This seems to be about a show of force, expansionism for the sake of expansionism. We gain the Spread Islam CB against all non-Muslim countries with a capital in the Balkans, and we get a half-cost commandant, plus a few permaclaims. We have finished yet a third mission, appease the ulema. Really wasn't that hard. While the Dhimmi have a strong presence in the country, the idea is to work with the ulema to turn tolerance into conversion, or something like that. So we gain 25 legalism, and the Clerical Advisory Council no longer gives plus 10% stability cost modifier. Before I click that button though, I'm going to quickly use this interaction. So first I'm going to debase some currency, then we'll get rid of that corruption, and then I'll finish this. I had a few extra military points, so I went ahead and developed a little bit in this region down here. It seems we need to rebuild the irrigation systems for the orchards. In practice, this means we gain basically 6 production, as well as increased prosperity growth and production efficiency in both of the states in Sicily for the rest of the game. I'm gonna wait for a little bit more of this aggressive expansion to cool down, and in the meantime, we'll give my subjects something to core. Finished building a couple of mosques. In particular, I needed to finish a few in non-Shia provinces, so we get +1 ducat per month in tax, plus an additional tolerance of heathens for the next 10 years, as well as a construction cost reduction. Like an idiot, I have allowed my admin to cap while I was waiting for more of the institution to spread, so I just quickly spent a couple of points to finish up a few provinces to make it cheaper. Now we can embrace it, and with that, I'm gonna grab this admin tech for our first idea group. The first idea group, I've been all over the place with it, to be honest. At first, I was thinking religious ideas to convert Rome, but then it turns out we actually don't really need to convert Rome. We do for some missions, but we can kind of just get around to that later. And then I thought, oh, what about state governance ideas? And then I realized, well, I'm probably going to want to take religious ideas second, so I can't take an admin group to start with. And then I realized that I don't really need better fighting capacity. We're still doing fine. So ultimately, I'm gonna settle on espionage. Reducing the aggressive expansion would be perfect. It would allow me to take more in wars, and of course, we do have some unique CBs that we're able to use against some countries. Like this CB already reduces the war score cost, which in theory would allow us to take more, but then what's the point of taking more if it's too much aggressive expansion? So we're gonna take that. Gonna hand this all over to Tunis so they can start coring it. Looks like Andalusia's a little bit too distracted to be able to put up a good fight. We're gonna annex the rest of these countries as well. Finally, Miltech 6 to make the rest of this war pretty trivial. I'll go ahead and personally annex all of this stuff, and then I'll hand it over to my subject. We already have tons of money, but I might as well sell some titles and take some land back. We do need to defeat Venice for a mission, although we won't be taking anything in Venice itself. We're going to reconquer our Byzantine cores. And to start off, I'm just going to call in the Magyars, then I'm going to occupy all of this stuff, and then I will call in Nicaea. This naval battle is not the best it could have been, but it isn't terrible because our galleys are still in the fight, and they don't have any left. I threw a little bit of development into the capital just to finish this one off. Essentially, the city's been the capital for a while, so it deserves to have a little bit of work put into it. And at 30 development, it pretty much already is one of the largest cities on the Mediterranean. So far, the largest coastal city at least, so it'll start producing silk, it'll increase its center of trade level to 3, and we get instant prosperity in that state. The knights are kind of just being a pain, so we're gonna give that back to Byzantium as well. It's a shame I'm going to have to end the war this way, but I need this war score to take this stuff right now. Otherwise, Nicaea, seeing that these provinces are no longer occupied by Croatia in a separate war, are gonna try to grab them like a little rat. And if they do that, I will not be able to grab these provinces. So instead, I'm just gonna grab what I came here for. It is what it is. Now that Byzantium kind of likes me for returning some of their provinces, I'm going to enforce religion, which they will not like, but fortunately we can just vacate them a little bit. Now that we've defeated Venice, we can finish this mission, which doesn't seem to have a description, at least not yet. We gain an admiral with 40 tradition, 10% galley combat ability, and minus 50% naval barrage costs for the next 15 years, plus a couple of permanent claims. Now, to grab those claims, it's going to be a little tough because Genoa is in the Holy Roman Empire, and I don't know how the Holy Roman Empire works in this mod. I don't remember if there is a Shadow Kingdom. If there is, my life's going to be made a lot easier, but I'm going to assume that there isn't because Lombardy is an elector, and there are 2 free cities in the empire that are also in Italy. Oh, you want me to... Okay, here's the thing, man. I was really looking forward to invading Serbia myself, actually. I was really looking forward to that. Now, normally I'd say no to this, because I kind of don't want to join this war, but I sort of need that Diplo rep in order to annex Tunis before my modifier runs out, and our margins are looking pretty thin for that. So before I say yes, I'm just going to lay out the exact things that I want, which is, well, pretty much all of it, and then we can accept. You know what war I actually do want to declare though? A war against Genoa, because it says that Francia will not join. And that would be pretty convenient because I do want to take Genoa, the actual city, as well as the rest of the islands over here in the Western Mediterranean. And they have to do that while Francia is still in massive debt, otherwise I'm not going to get a good chance. I've had this mission complete for a while, but I still had a particular advisor that I wanted to hold on to for a while, but now that they're gone, I might as well finish this off. The mission talks about like new production technologies and the formation of trade guilds and stuff like that. Oh, hold on a second, I didn't actually read that. Okay, did you give me anything? Nope. Okay, well, you gave one province to Byzantium, I guess. So from Genoa, I'm going to take exactly what I came here for, even if it's going to be tough to recover from that aggressive expansion. It's not impossible though, after all, Francia is not in this coalition. It's just not going to be super comfortable. As the missions suggest, both Corsica and Sardinia are highly valuable possessions in the Mediterranean, if for no other reason than the fact that I can repair my ships a little bit closer to France, instead of having the nearest port be down here. As our reward, we gain minus 25% local autonomy in the Western Mediterranean islands. Since they start off as stated provinces, because I already have this as a state, that should be effective immediately, alongside the minus 10 years of separatism in those provinces. And on top of it all, we get a permaclaim on the Baleares. Gonna be kind of tough to take those though. I was kind of planning to take them off of Andalusia, and then Francia had other ideas, but now they're getting their teeth kicked in, so who knows. Another fun thing about having this much trade power is that I can start to propagate religion, although these are Christian provinces, so maybe nothing will happen. Or maybe it's going to convert the Christian provinces anyway. Okay, sure, that works for me, I guess. Well, shoot. Okay, well, it's not like he's the greatest heir, but he was above average. I was kind of looking forward to that, but it is what it is. Let's hope we don't get an idiot on the throne, we'll see. We already have an idiot playing the country, we don't need two. Oh yeah, I forgot I can raise stuff. Right. Okay, before Montenegro gets any friends, we're going to go ahead and just grab them. Oh boy, I sure do love stealing. The great thing about having so much money early game and a whole bunch of advisor cost reduction is that I can do something like this, where I can have a level 5 advisor in 1476 and it's not a big deal on the economy. Alright, how much longer before I have what I need? 2 more provinces? That's not too bad. I can easily just grab Bosnia. That should do it. Before I core those, actually. Let's finish off this mission because it does give me a permaclaim on the Balkans, which will make it cheaper and faster to core those provinces. The mission talks about how the people here are not too pleased to be under new management, let's say, but that eventually they'll supply valuable manpower for the expansion of the empire. Or they can just give us manpower right now. On top of the flat amount, we also get 20 years of 10% manpower recovery speed, and we get those permaclaims. The tier 3 reform will go with our unique one, at least for now. I'll probably change it later, but for the time being, we could use the inflation to combat the gold that we're getting from Kosovo, and the national tax is nice. We can now pick up our second idea group. Now, earlier I said that this might be religious ideas, and I was gonna go with that, but then I realized I haven't really run out of claims or casus belli to use. We still have plenty of targets to declare war on, so I wouldn't necessarily benefit from the CB. Now, we do need to convert a lot of things, but we're not doing a half-bad job, especially because for whatever reason, we can use our trade policy to convert provinces, which I didn't think we were allowed to convert. So because of that, it's really not such a big deal. Instead, I'm gonna pick up offensive ideas. They're my favorite military idea group, and they do have some pretty pretty decent policies, especially with religious later on. Originally, I was planning to invade the Nizarids because I kind of wanted northern Egypt, but then I saw that they're allied to a lot of countries. So instead of fighting 100,000 men, I think I'm gonna fight the Almohads on their own, because both Francia and the Nizarids have an absurd amount of debt, which will prevent them from joining in the war. Although I don't have my own claims here, which kinda sucks. But the war is mostly just to break the alliance anyway. Of course, I do need to make sure they don't occupy any Tunisian territory, since I do still need to annex them. There we go. Oh, there goes the Sultan. We have a new one, a 436. We did not have an heir, which means our legitimacy is looking pretty bad, but at the very least, we do have a good ruler. I've also finished this mission over here, fill the coffers. Through our policies and expansion, the core parts of the empire have been able to experience relative peace and prosperity, allowing our economy to boost up to 45.5 ducats per month, roughly 46 actually. So we lose 3 corruption, 3 inflation, and we get 10 years of increased tax income. For that corruption, what I'm going to do is actually take out a debased currency twice, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just press this button. It would be nice to have more inflation to get rid of, but it is what it is. Oh hey, convenient stability. And the Sultan is strict? Oh, I was gonna say we might have a good time, except that there's a civil war brewing. Yeah, that's gonna take a while to boost that legitimacy, but it's not too bad because our particular branch of Shia is Ismaili, so we get yearly legitimacy. One of the 6 times recorded in EU4 history that modifier's actually been useful. This is our first age ability still, and I'm thinking I'm probably gonna go with Justified Wars, even though we do have our own unique one. I think we'll still have enough time to get that as a second one. Don't want too much from these guys, just gonna take the province I declared war for, plus that one fort. I don't really have much of a use for the trade in this area because it'll never arrive in Genoa. Literally 0 ducats are leaving Cordoba, but I will take their money and I'll make sure they can't ally up with the Nizarids in the next 10 years. The new heir? Ooh, yeah, we're gonna have to fix that. Finally, we can get our chance to declare war on the Nizarids. They actually still only have Tech 5, which is surprising and also means this is going to be really easy. I know it's random chance, but it's particularly funny that the Sultan of the Nizarids either abdicated or died right as we're about to breach the capital. Either way, he was not planning to be in charge when it fell. That wasn't too bad at all. We can get our 100% peace deal. I'm going to ask for all of this stuff over here. We do have claims on all of it, which is nice. You can see that the aggressive expansion is rather small, and that's because we're rocking a 47.6% reduction. So nobody really seems to mind if we take a good part of Egypt. My only regret is that we don't have Diplo ideas to take more. Oh yeah, I forgot actually, but we could have started the Golden Era. And you know, these cores aren't at 10% yet, which means that I can cancel their coring, get everything back, which, okay, maybe wasn't the greatest idea, but we can start the Golden Era. Maybe I should have done that, you know, during the war, but whatever. Now we can core everything up for a little bit cheaper, plus we can take that tech for a little cheaper. Speaking of points, alright, I guess I'll take that. I have a few too many admin points, probably because I have this level 5 advisor. Well, tax meta it is. I say that as a joke, but we actually do get a good amount of money from taxes. Anyway, we did finish off another mission, having overthrown the Nizarids. Seems the society in Egypt under the Nizarids was focused a lot more on militarism, producing a lot of strategists and tacticians, which apparently weren't good enough to win a war, but that aside, it means we gain 10% army professionalism, and for the next 20 years we gain 50% additional army tradition from battles, as well as a secondary modifier where every battle we win gives us an additional 0.25 army tradition. We also gain some additional permaclaims, and it's like a lot, more than a few. Francia continues to declare wars despite being in crippling debt, which prevents them from actually being able to protect the empire, so I'm going to continue taking advantage of them. I'm gonna have Florence break all their guarantees and give me a bunch of money. Don't really care that much about Romagna. And look at that, I can take Holy Roman territory for just 8 aggressive expansion. Beautiful. Now that civil war is beginning to progress a little bit, so it would be helpful if I went ahead and just strengthened the government at least twice, maybe a 3rd time. We just have to wait for legitimacy to be above 75 and then it's fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and hand out some land rights and I'll see some land back. And the Sultan's also a patron of arts? Dude, this guy's crazy. Just realized a very funny outcome, which is, well, remember that time we fought a war against Genoa? Well, I decided to convert them, right? There's a reason for that we'll get to later. The main point though is that they're allied to Siena, and so if I decide to use this CB, that won't help them. Oh, it's beautiful. Full annexation for just 17 aggressive expansion. There really isn't anything preventing us from from continuing. We can take Pisa for only 16 aggressive expansion. Then we can take advantage of Lucca while they're being sieged. We have our next age ability. I will actually take the Sicilian war fleet this time, and that's because if we decide to finish off this mission, then that becomes a permanent modifier. First, I will unfortunately have to build a couple of docks. And finally, we can take Lucca. That'll be the last thing we take for now, because we do have a little bit of aggressive expansion pushing up against the larger countries, so we'll give that a little bit of time. But at the very least, we have connected up Genoa to the rest of our country, and gotten a couple of trade centers out of it. We don't have much aggressive expansion with the Orthodox countries, so we might as well start moving in that direction, starting with a very small Serbia. By accepting a third Italian culture, let's say, I don't know, Sardinian, we will be able to finish off another mission here, the fusion of civilizations. As generations pass, a unique blend of Italian culture with a few Arabic influences emerges in Italy, forming a new Italian culture spelled in a different way. This becomes the new primary culture, replacing Sicilian, and the culture of every Sicilian Shiite province immediately changes to this new Italian culture. It'll slowly begin to spread throughout our Shia provinces in the Italy region, so we probably should start on converting things, meaning I should probably take religious as the next idea group. Finally, we can get our nearly 2,000 ducats from this, and then we can summon the Diet and take some land back. Magyars want some kind of thing, a war against Syria, Croatia, and Capua. Well, actually, I wouldn't mind going to war with Capua. That actually would be pretty easy. You're just gonna have to give me like 2 months. Oh, also, hold on a second. I want you to break your alliance with Wallachia. Thank you very much. And I just have to improve this center of trade. Okay, now we can say yes. Build a bunch of docks and shipyards to finish this mission off. It really just talks about expanding our naval capacity by building a bunch of, ports and docks. It says we have a navy that can punch far above its weight, but it can punch at pretty much any weight. It is over the force limit still and contains about 75 ships. As far as navies go, above our weight isn't even a thing. But anyway, we get 20% sailor recovery speed and 10% ship durability for the next 20 years, as well as a half-cost naval reformer. Our next task is going to be building 40 light ships and getting enough trade in Genoa to equal 40 ducats, which is kind of a tall order considering we have, maybe 14 years to accomplish that in order to finish off the additional bonus for this. That's not exactly easy. I'll go ahead and debase some currency so we can use this interaction. We have a couple things we can spend it on. Oh, let's go. They actually did give me the city. Nice. Oh, look, prospering times. I wonder which desert it is this time. Like clockwork. Okay, manpower, I guess, since it is livestock. I don't expect to get anything out of this war, so we might as well keep ourselves occupied. Now, Wallachia. This stuff doesn't belong to you. Well, technically it doesn't belong to me either, but I won the war, so that's too bad. I'm gonna take everything except your capital. Have fun. I'll give a couple things over to Byzantium. I think they've earned it. Oh, hey, faceting. Nice. I was starting to think it had already spawned somewhere. Actually, if I have enough prestige for faceting, I have enough prestige to get rid of this terrible heir. Now, we've been friends with Nicaea for quite some time, but unfortunately, we are going to need Constantinople. So it's a real shame, but we're gonna have to get rid of that alliance. We can sell more titles and take some more land back. Gotta feed that back into the economy ASAP. Oh, well, there go the Nizarids. They've been taken over by the Abbasids. We've lost our last half-cost admin advisor, which is what I've been waiting for to complete this mission. The Imam of Sicilia assures us that the future of Islam lies with Shia, and more of Italy is converting over time. In fact, that was one of the requirements, is that we convert many provinces in Italy. So as our reward, we get a unique ability where our Inquisitor advisors also get minus 10% missionary maintenance cost per level, and to go alongside that, we get a half-cost Inquisitor. Alongside that, I will also take the Defender of the Faith. As far as I remember, for Defender of the Faith mechanics, you can only be called into a defensive war if somebody on your continent is attacked. And since our capital is in Europe, I don't see that happening anytime soon, unless of course somebody decides to attack Genoa. In the meantime, I get to have my additional missionary. We do have a little bit of aggressive expansion, but I think it's time we go after Venice. It'll give us a chance to annex Ancona and Ravenna, hopefully allowing us to finish off this mission. One battle to finish things off should probably do it. Ancona is a co-belligerent, so I can take their province without much issue. I do also need to spawn this institution since it's not going to reach me anytime soon. Well, technically it might since I am allied with England, but it's fine, I'll just develop it here. I'm gonna do something a little sneaky here. I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively annex Ravenna. It is 20 aggressive expansion for this one province, but I think it's worth it. The reason I want that right now is because I can finish this mission. The idea behind this mission is that we understand and respect the rich and prosperous history of these Italian states, but lament the fact that they remain divided into small republics and princely states. So we will do them a favor by, quote, liberating them and unifying them under a powerful ruler. This gives us 100 admin power and 25 years of minus 10% aggressive expansion. We also get a permaclaim on all of Italy, and if I felt like it, I could try to get that additional 25 legalism, but I don't really care. Honestly, I'm just gonna take Cyprus. They're too much of a pain to keep around. We've sunk the Venetian flagship, we're about to rout the last little bit of their army. Things are starting to look good. It is January, so we can finish our war. The only thing I'm concerned about is that Francia is going to get exactly minus 50 aggressive expansion. Now, I could help solve this a little bit. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take away patronage of the arts from the merchant guilds, and then we're going to give it back. That's because it gives you 10 prestige every time you do that. And it seems that the change in prestige is just barely enough reduction in our aggressive expansion that Francia cannot join this coalition, and that's what we need. So I'm going to take these 3 provinces, a whole bunch of money and war reparations, and we're gonna have to sit out of Italy for a little bit. It might also be helpful to give ourselves more land rights, although that's the last that we can actually grant. We'll also take some land back, of course, even if it makes the ulema upset. We have another government reform we can pick up. I'm thinking either organized military staff or sustained discipline. On one hand, we can get less attrition, which is pretty nice. On the other, we can also reinforce faster, modifier most people don't think about, but it's actually pretty good. I think I will take sustained discipline this time. We have finished off one other mission here. Now, technically I've completed both of the requirements. In fact, it is mentioned in the mission description that some people believe we can do both of these things, treating our heathen subjects with kindness and mercy, as well as spreading the faith more fervently. We'll either get manpower in true faith provinces, or national unrest and tolerance of heathens, or both. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, it looks like it'll only give you the first one. That's a shame. Well, I think that's where I'm gonna call it for today. I was hoping I'd be able to finish forming Italia by the end of this, but for that to happen, we would need a couple more specific core provinces, and there's a pretty obvious issue with trying to do that right now. We've kind of hit a wall for the time being. Still, things are going quite well. We are the #1 great power, of course. We currently make 83 ducats per month, the highest in the world as far as we can tell, and it's probably true because Ming doesn't exist. We have the largest army and the largest force limit. Not the highest max manpower, but that's because Francia is the Holy Roman Emperor. Same thing for the manpower recovery. Fortunately, Francia's already gone bankrupt and they have more loans, so if we do decide to go to war, probably not a big deal. Now, I would like to make a part 2 to this video where I decide to form the Roman Caliphate. If you do want to see that, then you're going to have to let me know by leaving a like on this video. I don't exactly know when I'm going to release this, but let's say by the end of February, maybe 3,000 likes should be enough. And if you haven't subscribed already, I'd recommend it. But for now, this is Corbett signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. I'd like to give a special thank you to the patrons for this month, especially those in the Admiral tier: Erica, Baby Cal, Born to Dunk, Lickerbecker, Nick Steffel, and Cubrute. Those in the General tier: AG Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, and Torvald. Those in the Prince tier: Ambient Cyan, James Levy, and Luke 78776, and in the Emperor tier: Robert. Not only do these people help keep the channel going, but they also receive early access to videos for as low as $1 per month. The Patreon link is in the description.